Hey guys, it's Britt, and I want to talk a little bit more about Game of Thrones. I kind of want to do a Game of Thrones history lesson, a breakdown of each house, each war, each rebellion, and I thought, why not start off with essentially the rebellion that started it all, the Greyjoy Rebellion. Okay, so there are some houses involved, and it gets kind of confusing, but I promise in the future, if you're confused, I'm going to break down each house. I'm going to give you guys a brief overview right now, but I will go more in depth with each of these, don't worry. Okay, so the Greyjoy Rebellion. This took place before the War of the Nine Kings, which is a completely different war, and it gets very, very complicated with all the people involved. Okay, so let's start out with the Greyjoys. So we have Balon Greyjoy. He is married to Alanis, and I have a piece of paper just to reference. He is married to Alanis, and through that marriage, they have Roderick, Mayron, Yara, or Asha, if you read the books. But in the HBO series, her name is Yara, and Theon. Balon has two siblings. They are Euron and Aeron. So they wanted independence from the Iron Throne. Yeah, they did. Balon wanted kind of... He wanted to be separate from the kingdoms, and so he decided, well, if this is what I want, we're going to go to war. We're going to rebel. Now, the Greyjoys are kind of known for this failed rebellion, and they take things. They are a sailing people. They are pirates. They are very strong-willed. Their house words are, "We do not sow." Another saying that they have is, "What is dead may never die, but rises again stronger." Yeah. And they were outnumbered 10-1. But before I get into that, I need to explain briefly some other houses involved. Okay, so we have the Starks of Winterfell. Now, Eddard, aka Ned Stark, is brother to Brandon, Lyanna, and Benjen. Now, Brandon is currently engaged to Catelyn Tully of Riverrun. She's not so important in this rebellion, but when things start to change during the War of the Five Kings, that's an important point to remember. Alrighty. So next we have the Baratheons. Robert is the heir to House Baratheon. This is post him being named king officially. So there's Robert, Stannis, and Renly. Now Robert at this time is currently engaged to Lyanna Stark. Lyanna Stark, if you remember, is Ned's younger sister. And it just also happens that Ned and Robert are best friends. So Robert is not only deeply in love with Lyanna, but he's thrilled that him and his best friends get to join their houses through marriage. Now, remember this also, because this also becomes important in the next explanation video, which is the War of the Five Kings. Okay, so the last house I want to cover before I break down the whole rebellion, is House Targaryen. They are the dragon house, you know. They're known for having dragons. Okay, so we have Rhaegar Targaryen. He is the Prince of Dragonstone. He marries Elia Martell. And through that marriage, they have Rhaenys and Aegon, which is important to remember also later on. Notice how all these engagements are important to remember. Yeah, just keep all of these things in mind. Okay, so what happens? Well, Stannis Baratheon comes in and he destroys a lot of the Greyjoy fleet. And seeing as they are a sea people, they worship the Kraken, to lose a fleet is detrimental to them. And because once you lose ships, what is there? Okay, so the Greyjoy stronghold is a place on the Iron Islands, and it is called Pike. Pike is their stronghold, and it was besieged by Ned Stark. And after Stannis destroyed their fleet. So, as a result of the fleet being destroyed and the besiege on Pike, poor Balon Greyjoy sadly loses 2 sons. And those 2 sons are Roderick and Mairon. And he's pretty upset about this. Roderick was his first heir. Mairon was his second heir. And Theon is his final heir. And he has Yara. Yes, he has Yara, but females are not as important in the Game of Thrones universe. Men are basically essential to ruling, but for collateral damage, Ned takes his son, Theon, who at the time is 8 years old, and he takes him as a ward. Now, a ward in Game of Thrones, since some people seem to get this a little bit confused, a ward is a really fancy title for a high-born hostage. Theon, this little 8-year-old boy, is being taken away from the only home that he has ever known in this nice little island, and all he's known is war, and he's taken by Ned Stark. Now, Ned Stark, luckily for Theon, he's a pretty good guy. It could have been worse for Theon. He could have gone with Stannis, or he could have gone with Robert or Renly, but Ned takes him. And so Theon becomes a ward of Winterfell, and because he is of noble birth, he is allowed to eat at the table with the other children, learn with the other children. He gets schooling, he gets a room, he gets basically all the other privileges that the Stark children do because he is of noble birth. But he is still a hostage. And he can be killed at any time by Ned if Ned feels that his father has stepped out of line. Alright, guys, I know that's kind of complicated. I hope I summed up the Greyjoy Rebellion well enough to keep your attention and keep your eyes out for my next video, which is going to be the War of the Five Kings. And until next time, guys, I love you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.